Okay, so it's actually interesting that we talked a little bit earlier in the show about cloaking and the history of the overpoweredness, because we got cloaking and then we had cloaked mines. And then the next thing we had that people complained about was attack cancellation. And after that, it was the Borg. So, as many of you know from past regionals, OPs, and horrific flashbacks, one of the major things that people complained about for a very long time was attack cancellation on tactical cubes. Well, the 50-point limit was pretty much intended to stop those shenanigans, along with Voyager Dreadnoughts, which I'm not going to discuss. But then, in a sudden burst of light, we got the Officer Exchange Program resource, which actually reduces the costs of things. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to return to the good/bad/ugly old days of attack cancellation on tactical cubes. I actually have two builds for you here.
Ooh.
Yes, I actually just mathed out a hilarious thing you can do on another one. The first one is penalty pure. As a side note, Officer Exchange Program makes penalty pure friggin' hilarious. So let's go through the list. The list starts like this. Our resources Officer Exchange Program for 0 points.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Tactical Cube 138. SotF, who only costs 3 because you picked Borg Vulcan for your exchange program. That's important for 2 reasons. This is one of them. 1, the crew member 1, and Goval on your tactical cube. This is for a total of 52 points. Thank you.
Tactical Cube's 44, right? Should be.
Yeah. Did I do math wrong here? Hold up. Something's wrong. Something's not right here.
Unless Tactical Cube's only like 42.
46. Oh yeah, this is 50. This is 50. This is 54 points. I'm sorry. I was doing math wrong. Yeah, 54 points.
54 points. Tactical Cube is 46
Yes.
points.
Sorry?
I don't remember how much Tactical Cube costs.
The cube's 46.
Yes, and the rest of this is 8, so it's 54 points.
Gotcha.
Okay, so our other ship is a Surak class generic. The tactical drone from Scout Cube 608, which costs 0. Strictly better than a 0-point captain, that's the only reason. And Admiral Borg Queen, who on a Vulcan ship, thanks to Officer Exchange Program, costs a grand total of 4 points.
Because number one,
again?
she's not cross-faction for the +3 penalty. And
Right.
number 2, she also gets a 1-point discount.
Correct. So this leaves us with a grand total of 22 points on this ship and 76 points in our fleet so far. So guys, guess what the other 44 points are?
Is it the scimitar?
It's Hideki's!
Damn! Oh, I was so close. I thought it was. That was my next guess. I promise.
So we have
It's 2 generic Mirror Defiance.
Wait, that's
Get
the
the
wrong
hell
price.
out. Get the hell out.
You shut your mouth.
It is a first wave Hideki fighters and a Hideki attack fighters. This build is pretty simple. It recurs SotF in 1, so that you have to deal 8 points of damage every turn to the tactical cube in order to scratch it at all, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is possible. This is fairly possible to accomplish, simply because, with a lot of fighters out there, if you're not careful. But the trick is, just send your fighters in first. Send your fighters in first, and let the cube and the Surak hang back, and then they have to deal with the fighters. And then by the time they get to you, their fighters will have been reduced enough that it's not really a problem. Which is basically what you should be doing when you're playing with fighters anyway, is send the fighters in first.
So really, this is a build where your cube doesn't even have to engage until the end.
Yeah, I mean, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your cube is not going to be taking consistently more than 8 damage.
Mhm.
Right.
So that means hanging back until the enemy ranks have thinned a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you want to knock some of those tokens off the fighters. The Surok is very squishy and contains a key element of the build because you need the Borg Queen's action to re-enable
Or to bring back one every turn.
to bring back one every turn. Yeah.
Or no, wait. No, she activates one every turn.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, she activates one every turn. Which also, by the way, leads to the question of why do you not use Admiral Captain Borg Queen? And the reason for this is if you do that,
She's a skill 7.
she's a skill 7, which means she goes after Sopek, meaning that your routine would be Sopek goes and uses his thing, and then the Queen would try and activate the one, but Sopek will have an auxiliary power token.
Because Sopek's ability, when it's used, it gives his ship an auxiliary power token.
Correct. So you're not going to be able. You have to have the Queen's fleet action or action going before Sopek.
Mm-hmm.
If I can find a way to easily spend drone tokens that cost 0 points, that would be another option. But unfortunately, that doesn't exist right now.
Indeed. So yeah, Admiral Queen is currently on a ship with a skill of 4. So she goes before Sopek. She moves, has one use his action.
Right.
And that might be a problem too. Because after Sopek moves, then he has to use his action on a crewman that was discarded last turn, or a previous turn. Sopek is a kind of a pain when you get down to it.
Wait, hold on. Let me look at this. On a previous round, huh? Well, I never knew that. Okay, I'll just move into the I'll move into the non-penalty pure version of this.
Mm-hmm. But you guys get the basic idea. This one needs a little bit more polishing, but you'll understand how it's working here.
Yeah. I mean, there's if nothing else, what you can do is there's a way to do it with Marta. No,
this works. You can bring back Goval. You can alternate bringing back one and Goval.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's super cute. There you go.
You planned for this, Tucker.
I knew I had Goval on there for a reason. And actually, before we started the show, I was looking at this list and I was like, why isn't it Tech Cube 001 and a 1-point Borg upgrade to save yourself some pain? That's why. Thank you for reminding me of that. I knew there was a reason I put Goval on there.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
David, what would we do without you?
Oh God, I have no idea.
You guys would be a weird Abbott and Costello routine.
Hey, Abbott!
Who's on Borg? What's cloaking?
Hey, Abbott!
No, you guys
rest
would be
in peace,
Borg?
headphone users.
I don't know what's cloaking. Who just blew up?
Yes.
No, one just blew up.
One what?
One got discarded.
Which one?
That one!
Which one? Oh God, this is terrible. Okay, so
Part 2.
The non-faction pure version of this.
Anything goes.
This one gets a little scarier. We end up with Sopek. We're going Borg Vulcan again with our officer exchange resource. We get Sopek for 3. Conditional Surrender for 4. Goval or Magnus Hansen, it really doesn't matter, for 1. And once again, that's 54 points. Now, this time, the previous round thing works fine. because you're going to discard them on the previous round, then bring them back on the next turn. Which means that you don't need the Borg Queen anymore. Which means that your other ship is a Surok class with Tractor Beam and Captain Admiral Worf. And then, of course, 2 Hidekis. So now, this is a tactical cube with attack cancellation combined with 2 sets of fighters, one of which gets an extra attack every round.
Sorry, are we going with Captain Worf or Admiral Worf?
We're going with Captain Admiral Worf.
Gotcha. So he's 2 points then.
3, because faction penalty.
Faction.
And then +1 for the Tractor Beam equals exactly 120 points. That's the only reason the Tractor Beam is on there.
Because we have to be efficient with our point spending.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you really wanted an initiative, you could take the Tractor Beam off, but that seems like a bad plan these days. I don't know.
22. I can do math.
Yep. So we got 22 on the generic Surok with good old Captain Admiral Worf. We've got 54 on the Tat Cube. 76 gives us enough room for named and generic Hidekis. Yeah, this is a return to the attack cancellation days. Have fun with that.
Not only just that, but it also brings us into the fighter age as well.
Yeah.
Borg attack cancellation fighters. Everything everybody hates.
And it fits under all the restrictions because the hell with you people.
I should mention as an aside from my old cloaking things is that when I did something similar to this in an OP event, the Captain Admiral Worf that grants an additional attack to a ship with a hull of 3 or less, activating in the activation phase means you shoot, and if they are cloaked, they don't get their cloak defense dice.
Or their shields.
Or their shields. It's the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
It'd be nice
Worst
if they
of
changed that at
both
some point.
worlds? Wow.
Well, if you're playing...
Does that mean my build is the best of both worlds?
I don't know.
Because it's got a Borg cube in it.
But it doesn't have Picard on it.
Yeah,
obviously.
But what is the last line of Best of Both Worlds Part 1?
Fire?
Mr. Worf, fire.
Fire!
And I have Mr. Worf!
But he's not firing, he's the one telling people to fire. Close
Well,
enough.
if I put in a colon, it works.
Damn you, punctuation Nazi!
Yeah, anyway, but so in all seriousness, I see this as being a pretty competitive build, and here's why. If I have the TAC cube hang back again and just let the fighter screen plus the Surok this time, because remember the Surok is no longer necessary to my game plan, handle the scrum, you know, the joust or whatever, or even if I shoot my tactical cube forward and try to put it behind something. We're now in a position. Let's say I'm fighting against the baseline fleet right now in my mind is Koranak, Keldon, Hidekis. That's a 90-point fleet. Never mind. The point is, okay, Sphere, Hidekis. Here's what Will learned in regionals. You really don't need to cancel more than one attack per turn.
Especially with the maneuverability of the Borg, you can generally kind of keep your ship away or in more favorable shooting positions than your opponent.
Now, I will point out that one downside of using SotF is that he does give you an auxiliary power token, and those are a pain and a half to clear on tactical cubes.
My favorite build in this kind of vein would be using the Queen Vessel.
Right, you can. This is something you can easily drop the tactical cube. I only use the tactical cube because it's big, scary, and everybody hates it. You can easily drop down to Queen Vessel Prime, which is what's the stat line on that? It's got
like two less hull.
It's got two less. It's got one less hull and one less shield. That'll give you an additional 4 points to play with, which would actually mean you can throw flanking attack on one of the Hidekis.
Or the battle
I kinda
stations
like
thing.
or the battle stations thing.
I'm gonna remember what
Wait.
that. I'm gonna look up that card.
4 extra points to play with. Yeah, that would be correct. You can throw the battle stations on there. So I might do that. There are a lot of options here. But again, this is this is just a situation where, and again, if you don't need to cancel an attack, if you're not on anybody's firing arc, Queen Vessel Prime is also nice because you can scan and give somebody else +1 attack die.
Indeed. Coordinated attack. I found it. Okay.
Coordinated attack, yeah. So there are a lot of options here. It combines just about the worst of what everybody hates in this game into one solid build, which is nice.
And it's exactly what Tucker wants. He wants the weeping and crying of children and women.
Okay, hold on a sec. I need to find. Where's that quote? So
What?
I have been, my life now in my spare time, I have been going through Avatar, for the first time.
Wait,
And I just got
The Last Airbender or the one on the planet with the cat people?
God, no, not that one. The Last Airbender. And as I said to Will the other day, Azula likes to win at volleyball the way I like to win at attack wing. And it goes like this. Yes, we defeated you for all time. You will never rise from the ashes of your shame and humiliation. Oh, that was fun. It's even better if you see the scene in question. Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, no joking around. One of the reasons people hate all this stuff is because it's really good and hard to play against.
And it's just way more value for the points than 90% of everything else in the game.
Right. I mean, like let's look at what we have here. We're talking about Admiral Worf for peanuts, an attack cancellation. Let's go with the Queen Vessel. So an attack cancellation diamond, 2 sets of fighters, one of which is unique and has battle stations. Like, that's kind of good, you guys.
Tucker, what is best in life?
To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women.
And their children.
And their children. Or their men, if you're playing female players. Or their partners, if you're playing genderqueer players. I don't judge. I just win.
We like the weeping of all people of all ages and genders.
Yes. The important thing is the lamentations, not the gender.
David, are you sure you want to hang out with us?
No. Do you like how quick that was here? The thing I like about this is there are some counters here. I mean, Sopek Sopek's susceptible to Croesus
And power tokens.
and power tokens, and thus bumping.
Yeah, but who runs Croesus anymore?
I know. Even I haven't done Croesus lately.
Also, one advantage of doing the tactical cube version is bumping.
Right.
I don't know. Then you get into those weird situations where someone brings, Deep Space Nine and suddenly you can't bump it.
Or
that would totally happen.
Will, I feel pretty good about my chances if somebody's playing Deep Space Nine, because if somebody's playing Deep Space Nine, let's be perfectly clear about this. If somebody's playing Terok Nor, because that's the only one they're going to play, they're either playing an effectively worse version of the build I just gave you, or... Yeah, I don't even know where I was going with this.
That's okay. We'll just move on from it because we know it was a silly reference anyway.
Yeah. The nice thing is, it's good. Well, like, what you threw out is probably one of the best things out there right now. I can't think of anything better. But it is not invincible.
No, it's not. I mean, this is not... We are no longer back in the days of just builds that are just impossible to beat. Like, we're not... The Wayne Supercube took 6 out of the 8 nationals. And the only reason it didn't take the first one is because nobody ran it for some reason.
Yeah.
The other thing is that now that we have a few more points freed up to deal with without the blind builds, it's getting a little harder to it's getting a little easier to field 4 effective ships.
Yeah.
Whereas
And
before we had like what 2 spheres was the most effective you could get, and a pretty useless blind.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, you can definitely run, if you want to, you can just run the attack cancellation thing that I mentioned and 1 fighter, and that's 90 points.
What's the fun in that?
Something, crush your enemies, drive them before you, and hear the limitations of their non-gender specific partners.
Sounds good to me. Anything else we got for this one? Oh, it's kind of it's fun. I like it. Makes me want to bust out as many cloaked mines as I can and hope they work.
Yeah, this build is not good against cloaked mines.
So Sopek will be kind of all right unless you force him to go over them by like putting yourself in a corner.
I guess I just feel bad when literally half my points in the build are because the Surok is going to die to cloaked mines too.
Mm-hmm.
Is more or less just invalidated by 6 points worth of cards.
Yeah, Surok. Oh no, wait. How much health does the Surok have? I'm thinking the Talkir again.
It has 6.
It's not terrible, but we'll still die to like a volley from fighters.
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, look, you got 2 cloaked mines, all right? You got a 50-50 shot of its shields going down turn 1, and then it's just hull.
Mm-hmm.
And hull means crits.
Crits. Lovely crits. Cool.
Like, let's not pretend that the Surok is anything other than extremely, extremely squishy. In fact, the only good thing you're going to get out of it is if your opponents decide it's way too much of a threat and they go after it instead of the fighters, which I think is the wrong choice.
I like going after fighters, but this might require new strategy. It will have to be tested. I love scientific experimentation. Don't you?
Something like that.
Stop dropping frames. Cool. I think that's about it for this one then. I can't think of anything else. David, any questions? Any comments?
No.
120 points makes you able to do a few more things, but it also makes these few more things a little more vulnerable, which is one of the reasons why we were pushing the 200 point format, because you just get enough stuff that you can get around certain terrible things that would ruin most normal people's days. Cool. All right, David, do you have anything you wish to speak about on these subjects? Because we have saved part 3 for you.